Now I'm not gonna lie, Heroes Online 2 was well, it was something. In the best way possible I could put this, I genuinely don't think it was worth 400 Robux. However, the game is actually good enough to the point where I feel like if this game came out for free, it's honestly not that bad. Now, Heroes Online 2 has a lot of problems and things of that nature, but we do need to remember that this is basically an alpha stage, an early alpha version of the game, and the game isn't fully complete, nor is it going to be until summer of 2025-ish, at least to what the devs have said, summer of 2025. And today I was gonna do a beginner's guide, but I don't feel like we need a beginner's guide. The game can be quite confusing in its early game stages, well, throughout the whole thing. Forget early game, it can be quite confusing throughout the whole playthrough, but it's nothing that you don't really figure out, and I don't want to do that. Let's just honestly talk about my experience after playing 4 to 5 hours worth of game time with this game. Now, I'm actually not gonna lie to you, there's some catfishing going on. Now, in the Heroes Online 2 movie is what we're gonna call it here, but the showcase they did where they described the game features, gameplay features, etc. I'm not gonna lie, from that showcase, it really did look like this game had a solid foundation. Yes, the VFX looks pretty old, and yes, the game looks like it was made in about 2019 or 2020, but the gameplay and the progression looked like the game had a very good solid foundation, and it looked like there would be plenty of things to do until there wasn't. However, well, the showcase did a good job at captivating us because the game ended up being exactly opposite of that. Hopping in, after you start to do the quest that I would call story, I don't know if I'd call these story quests, but let's say introductory quest that tells you where certain NPCs are, it kind of takes a left turn. You slowly start to realize that the gameplay is, I don't know if I can say worse of that of a bandit beater, but it's really repetitive. After doing a couple of one-time quests, and even those one-time quests themselves, the game ends up actually being the exact same thing over and over and over, and it's not even like it's, honestly, in this situation, if it was going to the NPC over again and doing the same missions over and over again, I wouldn't mind. But in this instance, you're doing that, but in kind of a worse fashion. For at least Heroes, you have to run inside the building, talk to the person, get the quest, and it's always the same: defeat these thugs or whatever. Or even when you do the escort quest, it just feels really bland and really repetitive. You essentially do the same thing from about level 6 or 7 all the way to about level 30. I kid you not, after you do the initial story quest that kind of show you where things are, you usually end up just doing the exact same repeatable quest over and over. It gets super repetitive. Now, before they added the teleporters, a lot of people were using the elevators, and the game kind of turned into an elevator simulator, waiting for the elevator to come down, and it was annoying. A lot of people did figure out there were stairs, which made it easier, but there are some instances where you still need to use the elevators. I'm not gonna lie to you, the elevators are really annoying. I'm super glad they changed that where there are teleporters now, but it was really silly. Let's actually talk about the elephant in the room. This is my main thing. The game costs 400 Robux, and yes, it is an early alpha stage, and there are a lot of people upset that the game costs Robux. Now, I don't think people are upset that the game costs Robux and it's not deep broken, or it costs Robux and it's super expensive. I think people are honestly frustrated because it costs 400 Robux and the game is not that of a quality of a game that should cost 400 Robux. Yes, I do understand that the game has bugs and flaws etc because it is the alpha stages. However, the game lacks substance. Now, when I say substances, I mean the game just doesn't really deliver on what you would expect it to deliver on. And in this instance, I'm kind of talking about the combat. The game's combat is honestly pretty low quality in the nicest way possible. The game's combat is low quality. Now, if this game had a good combat system, it would work so well. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people would be able to look over the quite boring and repetitive progression system, because at least we have the PvP, the end game, to look forward to. But this game's base combat system is pretty mediocre. And when I say this, I mean PvE and PvP are both kind of just boring, even if you have cool quirks. The PvP, the quirk PvP, and even the PvE that comes with the quirks aren't actually that entertaining. I don't know how to put it, but the quirks, using the quirks isn't actually like fun. From old My Hero games on the platform, from what I remember, there was one I used to play where it wasn't a high quality My Hero game, but using the quirks against NPCs and bosses etc was actually quite fun. But in this game, from what I've experienced so far, using quirks actually isn't that fun. Like, it doesn't, the PvP and the PvE with using the quirks isn't fun. The base combat system is quite clunky and, like, I wouldn't say unresponsive, but it's just not satisfying. It genuinely feels like an old Roblox game. Now, a lot of people have been saying the owner for this game made Bloodlines 2, and if that honestly is the case, I haven't done any research into this. Bloodlines 2's combat was actually pretty fun, so I'm not too sure how Heroes Online 2's combat system doesn't really add up to the same enjoyability as Bloodlines 2. It's quite weird. And I will say, a lot of these quests, I don't know if they're just poorly made, but they just don't make sense. You go to an area where you need to defeat whatever mob, and you go to that area and 20 of the same NPCs will spawn in and just jump you. No, guys, can we be so for real right now? If I'm going to an area where it says defeat 4 of these mobs, I go to the area and there's literally 10 of them chasing me down, infinite comboing me. How am I actually meant to defeat these guys if I don't have a one-shot quirk that can take all of them down damn near instantly? Like, it's quite silly. Yes, you actually can defeat multiple mobs at once with the game's combat system, but it's just kinda, it's not cool. It's not entertaining, to say the least, having to get jumped by 50 NPCs where I shouldn't have to fight all of these guys at once. If it was 2 or 3 NPCs being fought at the same time, that's not really an issue. But when there's quite literally 10 of them chasing you to infinite combo you, it gets a little bit silly, I won't lie to you. But yeah, I honestly don't just want to sit here and criticize the game for 10 minutes. And the devs did work hard. Again, it doesn't feel like they've spent a year. I think they said they spent a year working on the game. It doesn't feel like they've spent a year working on the game. I'll be quite honest. There are some systems in the game. Even the hero's exam. The hero exam, I know I didn't complete it because you need to be a pretty high level to complete this successfully. No, I didn't complete the hero's exam, but it just felt kind of put together lazily. I would expect the hero exam to be something that's pretty cool. The closest thing I can relate it to is probably like the hunter exams in Hunter x Hunter. I would expect a bunch of people to go into a server. The first trial is probably the PvE one, where you actually need to get credits by defeating different machines. So you have the weak ones, the mid-tier ones, and the giant one. I'd expect a bunch of players out, say at least 10 to 12 different players, maybe even 16. That would be cool too. Maybe even 20. Just a bunch of people in a server, and obviously PvP would probably be off for the first stage. You guys go around collecting points, and you probably have about 20 or maybe even 30 minutes to complete that stage and have enough points to pass on to the next stage, and if you don't have enough points to pass on to the next stage, you get eliminated. And then with the second part, maybe it's some sort of quiz or trial or parkour trial. Parkour would be pretty good because they did do a little race thing. Like maybe some sort of parkour trial. You need to get to the end of the course or the maze or the parkour, obey, jump course, whatever you want to call it. If you fall twice, you die, or you know, if you don't complete it within a time limit, you lose. And that would add pressure to it. And then the third stage of the hero exams would probably be some sort of randomized PvP or randomized 2v2s so that 2 people can pass that at a time. So in the end, it'll probably be 2 people or maybe even 4 people that pass out of the 16 to 20 people that went in. That way it adds quite a bit of replayability and it's actually kind of fun. However, in this game, all you do is defeat overpowered NPCs. And it just feels so lazy because the hero exams could honestly be some of the best and most entertaining parts of this game. Now, I don't know what you'll do for the villain equivalent. It could be something similar, but I don't know. I feel like there was a missed mark here, and there could be so much fun and entertaining gameplay features with this game that just don't exist and just aren't there. At its core, I do feel like the big miss here is the combat system not being as smooth and polished as I wish it was. I honestly think a game's combat system, especially if it's a game like this, an RPG game like this, that's going to have ranked, like an elo system with PvP combat, the combat system should be its core focus. You should focus on the combat system before even making the rest of the game. And once you have a solid foundation on the combat system, the rest of the game can follow through in terms of being great. And I think there was a really missed opportunity with Heroes Online 2 there. And with that, I will honestly say I am a bit disappointed at how underwhelming Heroes Online 2 kind of was in my first playthrough. I'm not saying this to discourage any of the devs. I know they worked their asses off to get this game out, and I don't want them to feel type away from this video, but I am Revolver and I have to be honest. It's kind of my job. But I honestly think if this game was free to play on release, the game would be doing really well, honestly, and nobody could complain. The game is put together in a way where it is playable and it's better than nothing. If this game was free to play on release or alpha release, as like yesterday when you see this video, there wouldn't really be too much room to complain. And as the developer said, this game's gonna have weekly updates. So if the game came out for free, the game's getting weekly updates, new quirks and things of that nature, people will actually be spending a lot of Robux. I mean, heck, I spent a bunch of Robux on the first day of the game. So imagine what people would be spending on spins and modifiers so that they can actually get the quirks that they want. They'll spend a lot of money. In a game like this, you want to run around with exactly what you want. So the revenue would have definitely been generated. But who am I to say anything about that? Dev's gonna release the game how they want to release the game. The game will be free to play in summer of 2025 for any of those of you guys wondering. And I'm gonna actually round off the yapping here. There is so much more I could talk about that I want to, but there's honestly no point. We've all played the game at this point. And I've spent a lot of money doing giveaways for this game. So I've definitely contributed a lot to the game's success, and I've spent money that I shouldn't have spent to get other people access to the game, so that they're gonna be playing the game sooner rather than later, and then that's more money into the developers' pockets. However, that's it for me. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Hopefully the devs don't see this in a negative light too much, and I love and appreciate y'all. See you on the next one. Peace.